On the night of January 31st, 2026, an 84-year-old woman named Nancy Guthrie was dropped off at her home in the Catalina Foothills suburb of Tucson, Arizona. She had just finished dinner at her daughter Annie's house and had been driven home by her son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, at around 9:48 p.m. Surveillance showed her garage door closing behind her shortly after. Tommaso was the last person to see her. Nancy was the mother of Savannah Guthrie, the longtime co-anchor of NBC's Today Show, so when she didn't show up to a church live stream the next morning, the alarm bells went off immediately. Family members raced to her home around 11 a.m. and found her gone. Her phone, her medications, and her wallet had all been left behind. She also had limited mobility, a pacemaker, and could barely walk 50 yards on her own. That last detail is what ruled out the possibility that she had wandered off. When investigators pulled the timeline from her Google Nest doorbell camera, they uncovered something far more sinister than they expected. At around 1:47 a.m., the camera had been tampered with. At 12:10 a.m., motion was detected, and at 2:28 a.m., her pacemaker monitor missed a scheduled check-in, which was the first digital sign that something was very wrong inside the house. But there was a problem. Nancy didn't have an active paid subscription for cloud storage on her doorbell, which meant the footage should have been overwritten and gone forever. The family thought the visual evidence was lost, that is, until the FBI got involved. Through forensic work on Google's back-end systems, federal investigators managed to pull still images and short video clips from what they called residual data. The footage was released to the public on February 10, 2026, and what it showed sent a chill across the country. A masked man approaches the front porch. He's wearing a ski mask with eye and mouth openings cut into it, gloves, long sleeves, dark pants, and a 25-liter Ozark Trail hiker backpack. He's also armed. A handgun in a holster is visible on his body, worn in an awkward, improper position. He walks calmly toward the camera, then he reaches up and starts tapping the lens. When that doesn't fully work, he rips leaves from a nearby potted plant and uses them, along with his gloved hand, to cover the camera entirely. The small details here are what really tell the story. He knew exactly where the camera was. He didn't smash it or pull it off the wall, which would have set off an alert. He covered it with leaves, slow, quiet, patient. That's not someone who panicked and broke into the wrong house. That's someone who had been watching the place. And once the FBI saw that, the whole case shifted from a possible break-in to a planned abduction. The FBI later described him as a male of average build, around 5'9" to 5'10" inches tall, with a black mustache visible in some of the frames. Some reports suggest he may have scouted the home on an earlier date. Bloodstains were later found inside, confirmed through DNA testing to belong to Nancy herself. Signs of a struggle were everywhere. Sheriff Chris Nanos confirmed that she had been taken against her will. A $1 million reward was offered. Tens of thousands of tips poured in. Multiple ransom notes surfaced, some demanding millions in Bitcoin, though most were considered scams. One unrelated person was even arrested for trying to take advantage of the case. As of the latest updates, Nancy Guthrie has not been found. No arrests have been made in connection to her abduction. The masked man who covered her doorbell camera with a fistful of leaves is still out there. And here's the part that really sits with you. If Nancy had been paying for cloud storage on her doorbell, this footage would never have existed. The only reason we have a face, a build, a backpack, anything at all, is because the FBI managed to dig data out of a system that was supposed to have deleted it. Without that, this case would have been a complete black box. Around 9:30 a.m. on April 7th, 2026, a Ring doorbell camera at a home on the 1700 block of Burbank Court in Fairfield, California, picked up a man standing on the front porch. He was wearing a long trench coat. and he was about to give the family inside the most terrifying 20 minutes of their lives. The homeowner had just left the house a few minutes earlier. His pregnant wife and their 5-year-old child were still inside. When the Ring app pinged his phone, he tapped in remotely and started speaking to the man on the porch through the camera.
Hi there, can you open this door, please?
For what?
I just want to make sure that everything's okay.
What do you mean?
The man's name was Jason Thomas Nichols. He was 29 years old. He lived in the house directly behind the family, and he was about to spiral into one of the most bizarre home invasions ever caught on camera. At first, Nichols sounded almost calm. He told the homeowner that he wanted to check whether everything was all right inside the house. It sounded confused, but not aggressive. That changed within seconds. Nichols started kicking the door. He ripped the decorative doorbell clean off the wall. Then he started screaming, demanding to know where the homeowner's daughter was and threatening to break the door down. He also threatened to kill the homeowner if he didn't open up. Then he said the line that turned the entire video into a viral moment. He told the homeowner that his name was Harry Dresden and that the neighborhood belonged to him. And that's where this case stops being a normal home invasion. Most break-ins are about something: money, drugs, a grudge. This one had none of that. Nichols wasn't there to steal. He wasn't there because of a fight. He was there because in his head, he had become a fictional wizard on a rescue mission. That kind of locked-in delusion is what experts usually link to a serious psychotic episode. A lot of people online treated the clip as kind of a dark joke when it first dropped, mostly because of the Harry Dresden line. But the courts didn't treat it that way. He's facing real felony charges, including one added later involving the child. This wasn't a guy in a costume. This was someone in the middle of a serious break with reality, and the family was in real danger. For those who aren't familiar, Harry Dresden is a fictional character. Specifically, he's a wizard and supernatural private investigator from Jim Butcher's urban fantasy book series. Nichols had apparently convinced himself that he was this character, and that he was on a heroic mission to save a child he believed was being harmed inside the home. The wife inside the house heard the screaming and rushed her 5-year-old into the garage to hide. Nichols couldn't get through the front door, so he broke through a side gate and entered the home through a sliding glass door at the back. Interior security cameras then picked him up moving through the house, shouting and claiming he could hear the child somewhere inside. Many people who watched the videos later believed Nichols was in the middle of a full psychotic episode, complete with voices in his head. The delusion of being a fictional wizard rescuing a child was, by all accounts, the center of whatever was happening inside his mind. But the homeowner wasn't far away. He'd been watching everything unfold on his phone. He raced back to the house, grabbed a shovel, and went inside. What happened next was caught partly on audio. You hear the impact of the shovel. You hear shouting. You hear 2 men fighting in a hallway. Then the homeowner tells Nichols to leave, giving him one final chance to walk out before things got worse. Both men ended up with head injuries. Police arrived shortly after, found Nichols outside, and took him into custody. He was treated at North Bay Medical Center before being booked into Solano County Jail. Nichols was charged with first-degree burglary, vandalism, criminal threats, assault with a deadly weapon, and later, annoying or molesting a child. He appeared in court on April 13, 2026. He didn't enter a plea, but seemed to dispute several of the charges. No clear motive has been publicly confirmed. The family was physically unharmed, but the trauma of that event will likely follow them forever. And the scariest part of all of this is how fast it happened. The homeowner stepped out for a few minutes. That was all the time it took. Without the Ring footage on his phone, he might not have come back in time at all. The case has since become one of the most cited examples online of just how thin the line is between a calm morning and a life-changing emergency. It's also part of why so many people in that area have started installing cameras of their own. If you're enjoying the list, hit subscribe before we keep going. We post videos like this every week, and it helps the channel more than you know. Now, back to it. The evening of April 30th, 2026, in the Arden neighborhood of Sacramento County, California, started off quiet. Rebecca Breen and her husband were sitting at home on La Sierra Drive watching TV. It was just past 8:30 p.m. when their Ring doorbell started sending them motion alerts. They opened the app to check the live feed, and what they saw made them lock every door in the house. A man was standing on their porch. In his hand was a large knife. He was thrashing the blade in front of him, making repeated stabbing motions toward the front door. He pounded on the door with his fist. He paced back and forth. He raised the knife above his head and jumped in place like he was working himself up to something. Rebecca and her husband immediately called 911, and within minutes, other neighbors on the block were calling in the same description. The man, 56-year-old Brian Matson, had been moving from house to house, repeating the same disturbing behavior on multiple porches. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Office sent out patrol units and even brought in a helicopter to search the area. Matson, however, was already gone by the time deputies arrived. What's really creepy here isn't just the knife, it's what he was doing with it. He wasn't trying to break the lock. He wasn't trying to get through the door. He was practicing. Stabbing the air, pacing, hyping himself up like he was rehearsing what he wanted to do once a door actually opened. And he wasn't doing it at one house. He was doing it at house after house, working his way down the block. It took 2 days to track him down. He was arrested without incident on the morning of May 2nd, 2026. And here's where the case takes a frustrating turn. He was only booked on a misdemeanor charge of trespassing, despite the clear footage of him swinging a knife at strangers' doors. And even though he was already on felony probation at the time, the probation department declined to place a hold on him. He was released from custody in about 90 minutes. The sheriff's office, fearing what might happen next, publicly released his photo for community awareness as soon as he walked out. And their fears were correct. Just hours later, around 7 p.m. that same evening, Matson was reported trespassing again, this time near Fair Oaks Boulevard and San Lucas Way. He was arrested for a second time. This time, the probation hold was approved and he was booked into Sacramento County Main Jail with no bail. When he later appeared in court, witnesses described the scene as chaotic. Matson reportedly argued with the judge throughout the hearing, questioning the charges and demanding paperwork. His probation was eventually revoked, keeping him locked up. Lieutenant Amar Gandhi from the sheriff's office acknowledged the community's anger about the brief first release. He pointed to the legal challenges around misdemeanor charges even when a weapon is involved, and said the department hoped to connect Matson with mental health resources. But the residents of Arden weren't satisfied with that answer. They had watched a man with a knife stab the air outside their children's bedrooms, and they had watched him walk right out of jail in 90 minutes. The Ring videos from that night are still circulating online. And the question it leaves behind is the one nobody wants to deal with. When someone clearly wants to hurt people but technically hasn't done it yet, how do you keep everyone around them safe before it's too late? Right now, the cameras are doing more of that work than the law is. This case became a flashpoint in California's ongoing debate about probation reform, and the Ring footage is the centerpiece of that conversation. Whether it ends up changing anything is another question entirely. If you spend any time on the horror side of TikTok, you've probably come across a creator who goes by @SadRockForDad. He doesn't post the kind of dramatic, edited content most paranormal pages put out. His videos are quiet, almost boring, just a dad sharing footage from his home security cameras. But one of those videos managed to disturb millions of viewers. It started with his young son, Oscar. Oscar had fallen asleep on the living room couch while watching TV. Nothing unusual about that. Kids do it every night. But when Oscar woke up later, something didn't feel right. According to the family, Oscar told his dad he had the gut feeling that he hadn't been alone in the room. He went to his dad and asked him to pull up the security camera footage from the time he had been asleep. What they found is something neither of them have been able to forget. In the footage, you can see Oscar curled up on the sofa in the living room. The lights are off. The camera is in night vision, giving everything that grainy, green-tinted look that makes paranormal footage so unsettling. Then, in the hallway behind him, the footage appears to show something. What looks like a tall, dark, human-shaped figure standing in the dark. According to the family, it's not walking. It's not moving, it's just standing there. And viewers note that it stays in frame for what feels like an unreasonably long amount of time. Now, to be fair, there's no independent confirmation that this is anything supernatural. The skeptics in the comments have some good points. It could be a shadow from a light outside. It could be a glitch in the night vision compression. It could be a reflection off something in the hallway. Without a clearer version of the clip, you can't really rule any of that out. What's pulling people in isn't proof, it's the angle. Whatever's in that hallway, real or not, is lined up directly with the kid on the couch. The figure has no clear face. Its body shape, as some viewers describe it, looks too tall or too thin to be a normal person. Some viewers think it's hooded. Others say the head looks too smooth, like a featureless shape. Either way, the apparent line of sight is dead straight at the boy on the couch. What's worth noting is that this wasn't the only strange event the family claims to have documented. In an earlier series of videos, Sad Rock for Dad showed his viewers what he described as a sudden, massive fly infestation in his home. According to the family, thousands of flies appeared seemingly out of nowhere, with many of them coming from a hole or area in the attic. For anyone familiar with horror movies, the parallel to the Amityville horror was impossible to miss. The family eventually investigated the attic, which is part of how they say they discovered the security footage in the first place. Since then, the dad has continued posting follow-up videos showing what he describes as other strange activity in the house. Unexplained noises, objects moving, other appearances on the cameras. Whether what's in that hallway is real or just a trick of the camera, the family's reaction is what's done most of the work. It's also worth noting that the family hasn't capitalized on it the way most viral paranormal accounts do. There's no merch, no paid investigation series, no spin-off channel. Just a dad still posting on TikTok like nothing changed. And that lack of effort to monetize the story is part of why some viewers find the footage harder to dismiss than other clips out there. January 29, 2024, in the Philippines. A young mother named Akina Kitagawa was alone with her newborn baby late at night. Her partner was working a BPO night shift, which meant he wouldn't be home until early morning. So when she heard the bedroom door open and saw a man walk into the room, she didn't panic. She assumed he'd come home early. According to Akina, the man looked exactly like her husband. Same build, same face, same hair. She claimed she was confused, but not afraid. She asked him why he was home so early. He didn't answer. He just stood there at the foot of the bed, completely still, staring at her with a blank, empty look. She tried speaking to him again. Still nothing. After a few seconds, he turned and walked out of the room without a word. Something about the encounter felt wrong. She couldn't put her finger on it at first, but the longer she sat there, the more her instincts kicked in. She messaged her husband at work to ask why he had come home and then left again. There was no reply for hours because he was still on shift. When he finally responded, he told her something that, according to her, made her blood run cold. He hadn't left work. He hadn't been home at all. Akina got up and reviewed the footage from her home security camera, which had a clear view of the bedroom door and the hallway outside. And that's when she says she saw what really happened. The footage appears to show the door opening on its own. No one walked into the room. There was no second person visible in the house. The figure she had spoken to, stared at, and watched walk away didn't appear on the camera at all. The only thing the recording showed was the door swinging open, a brief stillness, and then nothing. Now, to be clear, there's no way to independently confirm any of this actually happened the way she says it did. Skeptics have pointed out a few solid possibilities. New moms get almost no sleep, and that can cause vivid waking dreams, which is something doctors have a name for. The door could have been pushed open by a draft. The video could have been edited. None of that has been confirmed either. But what keeps people coming back to the clip is the gap. Whatever she says she saw in that bedroom, the camera didn't capture it. The most common reading from viewers was a doppelganger. In German folklore, the word means double walker, and it refers to a supernatural copy of a living person. In many traditions, seeing your own doppelganger or someone else's is considered a bad omen, sometimes even a warning of death. Other commenters believed it was a mimic spirit, a type of entity in various belief systems that takes the form of a loved one to fool the people around them. Whether you buy any of that or not, the reason this clip has stuck around is simple. The scariest part isn't what's in the footage, it's what isn't. Akenna has continued posting on the account since then, and the video remains the most viewed clip on her page by a wide margin. In a quiet part of Sana'a, Yemen, a shopkeeper was working alone at a small store late at night. The exact date varies depending on which version of the story you read, but most accounts place the incident around October of 2024. The time was somewhere between 2 and 3 a.m. The streets outside were empty, and inside the store, the shopkeeper was playing Quranic recitations in the background, a common practice for protection and peace in Islamic tradition. That's when the door opened. A woman walked in. She was wearing dark, flowing robes, and she moved into the store calmly, as if she had every reason to be there at 3 a.m. The CCTV camera captured the whole encounter. She walked up to the shopkeeper and asked him why he was playing the Quran. The shopkeeper, clearly unsettled, didn't have a good answer. He hesitated. According to viewers who watched the footage, the woman then spoke again, and her voice had changed. They say it had gone from a normal human tone to something colder and hollower, like the sound was coming from somewhere deeper than her throat. She told him not to be scared, said she was an angel, and asked if he needed anything. The shopkeeper politely refused. He just wanted her to leave. She then asked him for money. When he refused that too, she repeated the same eerie phrase about not being afraid. Then she turned and walked out of the shop into the night. The shopkeeper, still shaken, later went back and watched the footage again. And that's when, according to viewers, he noticed the details nobody had seen the first time around: her feet. Viewers who studied the clip frame by frame claimed her feet didn't look human. Some described them as hooves. Others described them as animal-like, more closely resembling the legs of livestock than the shape of human shoes or feet. In some versions of the footage, her face or body movements also appeared off, like she was shape-shifting slightly while she stood there. Before we move on, it's worth being honest about what's actually on the footage and what isn't. The clip has been re-uploaded so many times that the supposed hoof detail is nearly impossible to confirm in the version that's circulating now. Some people think the woman might have been mentally unwell. Others think what looks like hooves could just be sandals or platform shoes. That voice change could also be audio compression. None of that has been confirmed either way. There's also no independent verification of where the clip was filmed, who the shopkeeper is, or what happened to him after the encounter. Everything we know comes from the clip itself and the people who reposted it, but you can see why it spread the way it did. In Islamic tradition, jinn are described as spiritual beings created from smokeless fire. According to the lore, they live in their own realm, but can sometimes appear in our world by taking human or animal form. Jinn beliefs are especially strong in Yemen and across the broader Middle East, which is part of why this clip spread the way it did. Many of the recurring details in the footage line up almost too neatly with classic stories of jinn encounters. The deep night setting, the woman's discomfort with the Quran, the claim of being an angel while showing what some viewers believe are non-human features. The encounter is exactly what people think it is, or not. It landed in a culture that already had a way to explain it. There's a big part of why it's still being passed around. Outside of the region, the clip mostly gets repackaged as scary CCTV. Inside Yemen, it's something else. It's a story that fits a much older tradition, and the audience you're in changes what the footage actually means. Not every terrifying security camera clip is about intruders or entities. Some of the most disturbing footage online comes from places of love and grief. And that's exactly what makes the videos shared by a TikTok creator named Jennifer, who goes by @RugersMama1, so haunting. Jennifer's mother had entered hospice care at home in her final days. Like many family members dealing with end-of-life situations, Jennifer set up indoor cameras and bedside monitors to keep an eye on her mother throughout the night. It was meant to be a tool for caregiving, but it ended up capturing something else entirely. In the recordings, Jennifer's mother becomes unusually active during the late-night hours. According to Jennifer, her mother reaches her arms out into the empty space above her bed. She waves toward the hallway. She lifts her hands as if she's gesturing to someone standing across the room, someone the camera doesn't show. And here's the thing. What Jennifer is describing isn't some fringe paranormal idea. Hospice nurses see this all the time. Researchers have written full books about it. Whether the cause is spiritual or just the brain shutting down in a specific pattern is something that people are still debating. But the behavior itself, the reaching out, the calling names, the smiling at empty corners, is so common in patients near the end that doctors have a name for it. They call it deathbed phenomena or end-of-life experiences. So when you're watching these clips, you're not necessarily watching something supernatural. You're watching something medical that the family has chosen to interpret in a spiritual way. Both readings can be true at the same time. That's what makes this one different from most of the paranormal content out there. The audio on the videos picks up faint sounds and voices, which many viewers have taken as whispers. Jennifer's been open about how she reads the footage. She says she believes her mother was being visited by angels, spirits, or loved ones who had passed before her. She also said that hospice nurses who deal with these final hours every single day told her this kind of behavior was extremely common. Jennifer's mother passed away shortly after the recordings were made. The videos remain on her page, gathered under hashtags like hospice, angel, and spirit. The reason these clips have spread the way they have isn't about being scared, it's the opposite. Most paranormal content online is built to make you jump. These weren't. They're just a daughter trying to hold on to her mom's last few nights. The comment sections on our videos are filled with other people who say they saw the same kind of behavior from their own family members in hospice. Whether you call that a haunting or a final stage of dying, it's something a lot of people have witnessed firsthand, and that's part of why Jennifer's videos hit so much harder than the average ghost clip. A TikTok creator named Misty Huron, who goes by @ChaosWithMisty, has been actively watching her daughter's bedroom using a baby monitor with motion and sound detection. Standard parenting setup. The kind millions of families use without ever thinking twice about it. In October of 2025, that monitor caught something Misty says she can't explain. Her daughter's room had what viewers later called a bunker-style bunk bed, a tall, enclosed wooden frame that took up most of the room. Earlier in the evening, Misty had brought her daughter downstairs, leaving the bedroom completely empty. According to her, there was no one inside, no pets, no siblings. The monitor was still running, sending a quiet, infrared tinted view of the empty room back to her phone. That's when, according to the family, the footage shows something strange. On the top bunk of the bunk bed, what appears to be a dark, human-shaped form suddenly comes into view. It moves fast. Some viewers describe it as darting. Others say it looked like it was crawling. Some describe it as running. Whatever the motion was, it was smooth and deliberate, like a person navigating a familiar space. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, it was gone. Misty says she caught the alert on her phone almost instantly. She grabbed the monitor and rushed upstairs, reacting in real time. When she walked into the bedroom, she claims it was completely empty. No person, no pet, nothing that could have caused the motion. But the motion sensor was still pinging. And again, there's no independent confirmation of what's on this footage. Skeptics in the comments have thrown out the usual ideas: a pet that slipped past Misty on the stairs, a toy falling, a glitch in the baby monitor's infrared, which is known to create weird blob shapes that can look a lot more human than they actually are. None of that has been confirmed. What's kept this clip alive is the speed of the movement and how purposeful it looks. Whatever it is, it doesn't move like a glitch. The clip racked up millions of views across TikTok, YouTube reaction channels, and Instagram, and the reason it kept spreading, according to the family, was that it wasn't a one-time event. The very next day, Misty posted a follow-up video that she says shows a rocking chair in the same room moving on its own. No one had touched it. It was just gently rocking back and forth in an otherwise still room. Since then, she's continued to share updates about other strange things she claims are happening in the house. Unexplained sounds, other shadows, small disturbances that wouldn't make sense to anyone unless they had seen the original clip. Whether the footage shows what viewers think it shows or not, it's the family's reaction that's kept the case in people's feeds. And that's the pattern with most viral baby monitor clips. The footage itself is rarely the strongest parts. It's the parents' response in real time that makes people believe it. Most of the time, TikTok creator Michelle, who posts under the handle @LMMULWBT9CW, shares wholesome content about her life in rural Appalachia, herbal remedies, stories about her grandkids, updates on her chickens and her dogs. The 3 videos are pinned to the top of her page, and they're the reason horror fans keep finding her. All 3 are security and trail camera clips from her property, which sits deep in the woods of an Appalachian holler that her family calls Heathen Hollow. The cameras are scattered around the yard, the fence line, and the tree line, mostly to keep an eye on wildlife and predators that might threaten her animals. What they appear to have caught is something nobody has been able to identify. On the screen, you can see what appears to be a pale, tall, human-shaped figure moving across her yard, and the audio that comes through with the video is just as unsettling. Her rooster goes wild, her dogs start reacting strongly to something in the dark. And that part right there is the part skeptics have a hard time waving off. Whatever moved across that yard, the animals on the property reacted to it. That's not proof of anything supernatural, but it does mean the camera was picking up a real physical presence. So the question becomes what that presence actually was. A person in dark clothing can look pale on an IR camera. A deer with mange can move in ways that don't look natural. None of those have been confirmed either, which is part of why the clips keep getting passed around. The second clip shows a similar figure further out near the fence line where her livestock are kept. This one moves with a strange, smooth walk, almost gliding along the edge of her property. The third is a mix of multiple camera angles showing similar activity from different nights, sometimes with the figure appearing to look directly at the cameras as if it knows they're there. The clips have been shared and reshared across Appalachian horror pages and cryptid communities for months. The most common theories tie the footage to regional folklore. Skinwalkers, which come from Navajo traditions, have been leaked into broader American horror lore. Dogmen, which are heavily reported in the Midwest, or local Appalachian creatures like the brush crawler said to lurk along tree lines and remote hollers. She doesn't try to make a bigger deal out of the footage. She just shares it and asks her viewers what they think. That restraint is part of what makes the pinned videos so effective. There's no music, no editing, no dramatic captions, just 3 pieces of raw security footage from a quiet woman in the woods, showing what she says shouldn't be there, walking across her yard at night. Whether it's a cryptid, a hoax, an unusual animal, or just a trespasser, the fact that nobody has a clean answer is exactly why people keep coming back to it. And so far, no follow-up footage has shown anything clearer. The cameras are still up, the property's still quiet, and whatever was caught on those 3 clips hasn't shown its face on camera since. The final case in this list is about a 14-year-old boy named Noah Donahoe, and the security cameras across the city of Belfast that captured every single one of his final unexplained movements. On June 21, 2020, Noah left his home on Fitzroy Avenue in South Belfast at around 3:34 a.m. He was wearing flip-flops, a t-shirt, and shorts, and he was carrying headphones. By 4:08 a.m., he was back home. Only now he was barefoot and the headphones were gone. Nobody knows where he went during those 34 minutes. Doorbell footage of his late-night walk wasn't released to the public until 2025, when the coroner shared it as part of an ongoing inquest. That detail alone was the first sign something was off. Noah was a smart kid, a student at St. Malachi's College. Family and friends described him as kind, curious, and thoughtful. He'd been reading Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. He had also recently sent some serious messages to a friend about his emotions and his mental health. His mother, Fiona, had noticed a shift in his mood in the days leading up to his disappearance, but nobody was ready for what would happen later that same day. At around 5:40 p.m., Noah left the house again. This time he was on his bicycle. He told his mother he was cycling to Cave Hill to meet his friends. He had no way of knowing the meetup had already been canceled. He was wearing a helmet and a jacket and carrying a rucksack with his laptop inside. What the CCTV cameras across Belfast captured over the next few hours is some of the most haunting missing person footage ever recorded. He was seen cycling through South Belfast and into the city centre. Then, slowly, things started to fall apart. He dropped his rucksack. The man nearby picked it up and walked off with it. That man was later convicted of theft, but he had no contact with Noah. Noah just kept on riding. Camera after camera caught him. Then he dropped his phone. Then he started losing pieces of his clothing. At around 5:59 p.m., footage caught him falling off his bike. He got back up and kept going. As he moved into North Belfast, his cycling became unsteady. He was swaying, drifting. Cameras from the Grove Wellbeing Center on York Road and other businesses on North Queen Street caught him moving northward, getting more and more confused. Then came the most disturbing sightings of all. Residents on Northwood Drive reported seeing Noah cycling completely naked past their homes. Some thought it was a prank. Others thought he was drunk. None of them realized they were watching the final moments of a young boy's life. And here's why this footage matters so much. Before the cameras were combed through, a lot of people believed Noah had been attacked, drugged, or led somewhere by someone else. The CCTV ruled almost all of that out. He was alone the whole time. Nobody was chasing him. Nobody was guiding him. Whatever was happening to him was happening inside his own head. And the cameras across the city quietly watched it unfold, while nobody on the ground realized what they were actually seeing. His last confirmed CCTV appearance was around 6:08 p.m. on Northwood Drive, near the entrance to a restricted area with a stream leading into a storm drain. His bike, helmet, and scattered clothing were found nearby. Witnesses later said they saw him walking toward the storm drain. The grill at the entrance was unlocked and wide enough for him to pass through. 6 days later, on June 27, 2020, his body was found in a storm drain tunnel near a TransLink depot along the M2 motorway. Post-mortem found that he had drowned. There was no sign of foul play, no third-party involvement. He had entered the storm drain alive. Bruising on his body matched the fall from his bike. Toxicology came back clean. So the question that has haunted Belfast for nearly 6 years is the same one his mother has been asking ever since. What happened to her son between 5:40 p.m. and his final ride into the dark? Theories have ranged from a mental health episode to severe confusion after his fall. Residents in the area reported hearing screams in the nights, but were never properly looked into by police at the time. Important CCTV chances, including a rear-facing camera on Northwood Road, were reportedly missed. The inquest has been going on for years. Fiona Donahoe has fought tirelessly for answers and has refused to let the case fade. The footage released in 2025 is part of that effort. And every clip, every angle, every glimpse of a confused boy on a bicycle losing pieces of himself across an unfamiliar city adds another layer to a mystery that has never been solved. We know the route, we know the time of death, what we still don't know is why. And until somebody has a real answer to that, the cameras of Belfast are the only witnesses Noah Donahoe ever had.